Okay, just got to the Harvey booth. I'm going to let them go ahead and talk. Gabriel is the tech representative, basically. We're going to walk through some of the new items that Harvey is introducing, the nickel plating, the AI, stuff that a regular guy like me just can't talk about. He's going to give you more of an in-depth overview of those things. So I'm going to pass it off to Gabriel right now, and we'll let him chat about things.
Might have left this behind. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna move it down here. All right, I'm Gabriel from Harvey Industries, and here are some of our new products that we're demoing at IWF 2024. We've got our new Pro lineup, which has the nickel coating on all of the tops and the inner workings of the trunnion systems. So this table saw is not only coated on top with nickel, but it has it on the trunnion to make it so that even in very humid environments, it's going to stand the test of time. We've also got our new intelligent positioner module. What this does is it actually has an optic sensor that reads a scale underneath the unit, takes the pixel readout in between each graduation, and then sends that data of how much the fence was moved back to this screen up here. This is basically a Android smart device or phone that you can change the settings for calibration. You can put in the blade width for the plate, the kerf, and then set up a lot of the angles for making bevel cutting a lot easier. There's the high and low position, so depending on what setting you have it in, it'll change the positioning based off of where the actual fence is set up for. Down here, what's really cool is on our blade tilt adjustment, the readout from here is wirelessly transmitting back to this screen. You can take this right off, and you can see it's transmitting from your angle adjustments back to this screen, and then it'll, depending on the tilt of it, will actually adjust for the width to your bevel angles. Now this is something that if you've already purchased the Big Eye system, you might have seen these two screws on the front of it for mounting something, and people have asked us, what are those for? Well, it's actually for this system that we've been developing and plan to release in the near future. If you're already familiar with our Big Eye system, this is something that's now shipping on almost all of our table saws. We're kind of phasing out the old rail system and going to make it so that if people do purchase a saw, it's going to come complete with the best fence that we can offer. Also for the blade guard, we've upgraded to a new sharp blade guard over there. We'll get to that in a minute. The nickel coating here, you can see we've got water all over this table. This water has been on this table all week and hasn't, had any issues with rusting on anything. The new mobile base is also a new product that we're offering. It's called the Spider M1500 Pro. Now, the way that this works is when you push down on the lever to raise it, the table itself is not raising and lowering vertically on the height level. What you're changing is whether or not you're switching from the casters to the leveling feet, which are 4 independent levelers. Right now we've got it on there. You can flip it, and the actual table height does not change at all from going up or down. And the reason why that's really important is because with a lot of other bases, when you raise the base itself, you end up having a change in height between accessories that are on the end of the unit and the actual saw, and it can potentially, when you put it back down, actually push up on some things and damage them. So having this not actually raise the unit and lower it vertically at the tabletop level is very beneficial and helps prevent damage if you end up rolling it to a spot where there's a high spot or something and all of a sudden have your legs pushing up really hard on the end of the table. And everything's kind of set up here with T-tracks to where you can adjust this narrower or longer within the means and limits of the length of the pieces themselves. So you can use this for narrower applications than table saws necessarily. A lot of the other mobile bases on the market maybe are great for a table saw cabinet size with and dimensions, but they usually can't go narrow enough for a lot of bandsaws. So the really cool benefit of this is it can go more modular to go a lot narrower or wider depending on your needs. You're not just limited to only cabinet size and bigger. Let's take a walk over to our new Shark system over here. So this is the new Shark S10. If you're familiar with our current offering, the S12, the S12 was actually designed for 12-inch larger saws with a 12-inch blade, and we've been putting it on a 10-inch, size table saw. So it's been time to make it actually a lot smaller and lighter. This one is much easier to set up than the previous one. It's so much lighter because we've changed the bar from being a very heavy steel piece and a lot of cast iron to being more aluminum and lighter steel components. This makes it so that one guy can set this up very easily. It's not a two-man job and you don't have to work as hard to get this installed. There's also no leg anymore. Before we had a leg coming down that was a very large part that would come down and have a large foot. Because this unit is so light now, you don't even have to have the leg, which eliminates a lot of issues with having it on a mobile base or other things before, with the previous having a unique leg sticking out that you didn't necessarily want in the shop. So I'm going to just loosen this back part, and then once this is loosened, we'll just raise this up, and this just swings right out of the way. So if you do need to get a very tall piece through the saw, you can just swing that right out of the way very quickly and easily. And when you want to secure it for pushing a cut through, you just lock that down, and it's extremely rigid. The top part takes a 4-inch port, so you get a dedicated 4-inch port going just for your overhead collection, and one for your table saw to get extremely good dust collection above and below. Inside of this unit, we've got a spring mechanism that's actually tension to balance out the amount of force and weight to hold it up and push it down. So it's almost in a neutral force from the amount of spring tension, basically neutralizing and holding it in place depending on where you position it. On this setup, we've got our router system set up with our router fence and the router table. This is a unique fence that is able to micro adjust your outfeed if you want to do joining. So you can adjust just your outfeed as needed. Or if you want to do the entire fence and just bring the entire fence forward, you can control that from this knob here, where this locks down. Loosen these up, and then you can actually adjust the entire fence positioning, and that'll move the entire fence forward and back. We have some other new products that I'm excited to show you. We've got our new Gyro Air G800 Pro. So if you've ever seen our current G800, the G800 has the inlet coming off of the front. A lot of users would prefer to have it either going to the side or off the top. We've made it with this unit to where it's modular. You can change which side you have your port on. So say you wanted it on this side of the machine, you can have it on here. If you don't want it there and you want it to come out the top, there's actually a cutout here where you can take the top off and have that going straight up into the ceiling. So makes it so that now you could position this either right up against the wall or in the corner or in between machines without having the piping potentially coming off of it and being in the way. We simplified the bin design down to one large bin. Before it was split into two. That was an okay design. This one's a little bit better. New screen that's a lot better in terms of the touch responsiveness. There's differential pressure, which is telling us how much the actual pressure in the filters is, so that if you want to have an air compressor come in and clean the filters out while you're running, you can set that pressure threshold to what you want and make clean either more often or less often based off of your needs. So we can get right here into the settings. We've got the speed settings right now. You've got a range between 2,400 This would be the lowest setting. It's extremely quiet. You also have a power option setting where if you want to change how much power the unit is actually using, say you're in a situation where you're competing for power between machines, this allows you to actually dial down this machine's power usage to make it so that you're maybe not tripping a breaker or actually struggling to operate two machines in a situation where the power incoming maybe isn't the greatest. We can ramp this up. And then if you have different cleaning cycles, so if you want to change whether or not the unit's dust cleaning allowed in running, forbidden in running, if you don't want to have it calling for air from your compressor, we have it set for automatic and allowed while running right now. Or you can do it manually. So if you want to just do a cleaning mode before you start or in the middle of a job, you can. This is your pressure threshold, so if you want to change how often the filters are getting cleaned, you can set it a very low value, or you can set it higher if you want to stretch your compressor a little less. Bin is a 33-gallon bin, and we can take a look in there actually. So you've got your bins there. You've got these holes in the bottom which help allow the airflow to get around and escape around the bags, so that it's actually got a port in the back here that is sucking air in through the back. So what this is doing, this looks almost like a horn on a bicycle or something, but this is hooking up into the back to the air system, and then it's pulling pressure down on the bottom of your bag to keep it from pulling up. Another cool feature, a lot of people ask about the ability to have it auto start when they start their machines. We do have a synchronous control for this that goes in line with your power distribution, so if you have that set up to your saw or any other dust producing machine, you can have it set up in different configurations where you use one for multiple machines or different setups for that. What that'll do is when you start your, any dust producing machine, it acts as a remote and basically sends the start signal to this remotely. This would be our air compressor line hookup for the filter cleaning. So we've got an oil separator and the bleed valve for the air canister. Inside of here we've got a tall air canister that acts as a reservoir for your air, so that you're not just drawing off your compressor all the time. You can build up pressure in this unit and have this cleaning your filters, and your compressor will just have to maintain the pressure in this rather than having to always be coming straight from the compressor. On this unit, this is a prototype, but you would just unscrew these bolts and get access to your filters. The filters just bolt in now through the top. So to change them out, you just undo the bolts on the top and then swap them out and bolt them in. Generally, our filters are good for about 1,300 hours. It's 6 months, 7 hours a day or 8-hour workday would be when we would typically say is probably a good time to change them. Obviously, it'll vary depending on what type of material is being put through the machine, so certain materials might be more aggressive on the filters or less, and you'll be able to tell based on the pressure thresholds. If something's not right, then it might be time to change the filters if the pressure isn't maintaining on the filters very good. This is probably one of the coolest things that I've ever seen and got a chance to work with. We've got an Android touchscreen on the front here, which now has sensors that tell you your blade tension, your speeds, as well as your table tilt angle. Just like the Big Eye, how they've got a new module on it to tell you your tilt angle. This one's hardwired to a module that's mounted to the underside of the table. When I change the tilt on this, it will change on the screen. We've added a really cool LED light to it, so now if you want to have some lighting on your unit, you don't have to have an external mount any longer. Also, what people really love about this new blade, the guide bearing and thrust bearing system, is we've added micro adjust. So now, instead of having to fiddle with paper and trying to dial it in and get it just right, you can do everything with micro adjustments back and forth, vertically, horizontally, for both the thrust and the guide bearings. We've added a new motor with a braking system in it to make it so that instead of having a foot pedal where you have to press on the foot pedal and apply force with your foot to try to stop the blade faster, we've got a new super fast braking system, and we can demonstrate that in a minute too, actually. Also, we've added the new Big Eye fence, but in a much smaller size for our bandsaw now. So a lot of the same features that people really love about the Big Eye for the table saw, you don't have to compromise, and you still have most of that same functionality here on the bandsaw. Internally, we've got the nickel coating on the tabletop and the trunnion, but also on the flywheels, and all of the inner parts and components for the tensioning and tracking are also coated with nickel. So even if you're in an extremely humid environment or some just very challenging areas in the world where the humidity is extremely high, you don't really have to worry about rusting everything. And I'll just go into a little bit on how the sensors are coming in. I don't know if you can see this, but right here we've got some wires coming down and going right into the this part that has the springs. So it's getting the tension information from sensors inside of here, which then transmit and go to our screen to let you know the tension. So I can show you as I'm tightening or loosening this, you can see the tension going down. And then if I bring that back up, your tension's going back up. It has an optimal tension setting where right in the middle would be your kind of fine point on the green where it tells you should go there. All right. And you can input your blade specs, the width and thickness. We've also improved the overall blade guard design. So now when you want to get the blade out, it's super easy to take blades straight out. Instead of before we had kind of a perpendicular angle coming off of here, a lot simpler where you can just go right in and out with the blades. All right, so I'm gonna just close that up. We can even take a look down here. And just like the top guide bearings, we've also got the micro adjusts right on the under part too. And also nickel coated everything underneath. The main issue with some of the people being able to access the lower guide bearings before was it's hard for some guys with big hands to get their hands even in here, and that's one of the #1 complaints about a lot of bandsaws is it's so hard to get access to lower guide bearings, or guys are really marring up their hands trying to get in there. Try to make it as easy as possible now to get your hands in and make the adjustments you need to make to get your guide bearings and everything set just the way you want them. We've also got 2 speeds now. So before the pulley was just had one section here. Now we've got a low speed and a high speed setting. Your low speed's going to be great for greenwood. So it's designed for cutting greenwood, especially with people doing a lot of bowl turning, those types of applications. Higher speed for drier kiln dried wood and other applications. The nice part about the high speed setting is it's even faster than our old bandsaw by about 500 linear feet per minute, or a little more than that. The old one was 3740 linear feet per minute, and this one's about 4400 or so. This is also the base that we have mainly for our bandsaw users, very similar to the Pro, except it's got the independent system on just 2 parts of it. This one is maybe for people who don't want to have to spend as much money but still get a really, really great mobile base for a bandsaw, and functions very similarly, except instead of having all 4 independent, you've got 2 independent and 2 fixed wheels on the other side. It's been a pleasure going over all the different products with you guys, and excited for all the new tech that we're bringing to the woodworking industry. Our goal is to really make it so that woodworkers don't miss out on all the latest technology and get a chance to really incorporate the advances to make woodworking that much more enjoyable and the overall experience easier, to also get the younger generation, more involved. Having the woodworking hasn't changed a whole lot in the last 50 years. A lot of these tools are haven't changed. And so what we're trying to do is bring all new advancements and keep changing with the times, so that way our customer base can benefit as well and actually really enjoy woodworking, and instead of having to fuss with a lot of the old outdated technology. You'll start to see a lot more products coming. This show we've got 7 new products, and probably next year we'll have about 15 new products coming. So we're gonna really try to make a lot of changes and make everybody's lives a lot easier when it comes to doing projects, and especially for home woodworkers who maybe don't have access to a lot of some of the resources that larger corporations and businesses have. Thank you so much for your time and coming to our booth. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, so that does it for IWF 2024 here in Atlanta, Georgia. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, but a guy is tired. I gotta rest my dogs, and where can a guy find some tacos around this place? I mean, help me out. Help me out. All right, I'll talk to you guys next video. How do I get out of here?